Before we get started with this video, I would like to say that this review comes from the standpoint of somebody who has never heard the HD800 or the 800S. So this is solely a review of the HD8XX without context to those other two headphones. Obviously, with it being based off of them, a lot of people are going to compare them. I currently have no way to compare them. I'm just getting this out of the way right off the bat. All right, let's get into it. Honestly, I was wanting to wait till they went back, like on drop again, to do this review, but I believe now might be a better time to do this review to give context to the Odyssey Maxwell review last week. I believe that this headphone is the sole reason I don't like the Odyssey Maxwell for gaming. This headphone has ruined me. Now, to do a quick dive through the build real quick, because honestly, it's probably the least important part of this headphone. It is a mostly plastic build. It's not gonna break. People are still running HD800s to this day. The actual adjustment system on the headband feels sturdy. It's a Sennheiser. They're all built like tanks. I don't know what to tell you. It's not gonna break. This headphone almost has the exact opposite effect of the Odyssey Maxwell. It's top tier for gaming, but in terms of music, I doubt I can recommend it. Although because of its gaming prowess, this is the headphone that lives at my desk here. This is where I do my gaming, obviously. Mechanical keyboard. Expensive wireless gaming mouse. And no other headphone is as good as this one. Nothing that I've heard. Nothing even comes close. But a lot of things are better than this in music. I'll probably do my favorite music headphone next week. This week is going to be my favorite gaming headphone, and that's this. Now, the cable that's attached to this is not a cable that comes with the headphone. It's a cable that I bought off of Etsy. I'm going to link it down below, but it's a phenomenal cable. The headphone doesn't come with a balance cable. It only comes with a single-ended cable, and it's not a very good single-ended cable. Normally, I'm not that picky over the feel of cables, but this headphone just... There's only two headphone cables I've hated in my entire life. It's the single-ended cable that came with this, and the balanced cable that came with the Focal X. Well, yeah, Focal, what are you doing? Sennheiser. What the hell? I really love the way these drivers look. I love that. That design is so pretty. These are a 300 ohm headphone, and I do recommend like really good amplification for them. I wouldn't run them off a phone. They would not sound good. Don't run them straight out of your computer. I would recommend at minimum maybe like a Modi Magni stack. Although when you do drive them correctly and you're in game, oh, it's amazing. Like, yeah, the Odyssey Maxwell, you can tell directionality, but with this, you don't just tell the direction. You can tell exactly how far away people are. Like, way more than real life. It's insane. It's really phenomenal. I can't even give it justice for how good it is for gaming. When you're like going down the highway in like Forza Horizon 4 or like 4 or 5, I've played all the Horizons since like 3. But any racing game, the V8 screaming and you can hear it echoing off the buildings around you, and it's just, The sense of space around you is insane. I've never had another headphone do that. Things can seem so far away, it's almost ethereal. And then it drops the ball on music. You do get that sense of staging and space and like the pinpoint imaging with music, but the mid-range lets it down in music. So there's a lot of wonkiness to the mid-range. It doesn't cut through in games, but in music it really does cut through. And some tracks will show that wonkiness, others won't. And there's a second issue with this headphone too. There's a certain minimum size requirement when it comes to mastering in the music. So if stuff is up close and in your face, they fall apart completely. For some reason, video games don't ever do that. So if you fire a gun, it's gonna be nearly ear-piercing, and then you're just gonna hear it echo out into the distance. But in music, it doesn't like it at all. So for me to really recommend these for music, the music you listen to really has to follow two criteria. It's got to be mastered with a sense of space in it. It can't be up in your face. And it's got to play nice with the mid-range of these headphones, which really does knock out a lot of music to listen to them with. So with music, they're either going to sound ungodly good or ungodly awful. But video games, they always sound like the best. Never have I heard a video game sound as good as they've sounded with these. I've played video games with surround sound in my main room. I've played video games with a Dolby Atmos sound bar. I've played games through, I guess you turned on because I touched you. Yeah, well, anyway, I've never heard games sound this good before. And I kind of hate it. It's ruined me. If these break, I don't know how I could afford another pair. I'd have to get another pair, but I guess I'd have to take out a personal loan. These do generally go for $1,100. I got mine on sale for $900. Woo, big savings. And unfortunately, it's worth it. God, I hate telling people to go out and just blow their money on expensive-ass headphones, but it's something that I feel like people have to hear. And with how people talk about how the HD800S and 800 are so much better than these, I feel like I have to listen to those too. But I don't know if I can fork out the $1,700 for that. And my God, they're comfortable. I was worried when I got them with how thin the pads were, but honestly, they're so big, you don't got to worry about it. And they just, I wouldn't work out in them, but they won't fall off your head either. I'm astounded. It's a marvel of engineering. It leaves me speechless. I just can't, even with this headphone. Everything has so much detail in it. If it wasn't for that wonk in the mid-range, I could recommend them for music. But as it stands, out of what I've heard, this is the best gaming headset. If this is a 10 out of 10, then the next closest thing I've heard in terms of headphones is probably a 5.5 out of 10. It's that big of a difference. I never thought anything could make that huge of a difference, but this is the thing that's done it. It's a shame it couldn't carry that over into music, because that wonk in the mid-range. And the bass on it's not the most detailed, but it's there, and it's very present. I think I like the bass on these better than the Odyssey Maxwell's. Oh my god, if you have the chance to try something like this out, or even one of its older brothers, please do it. But if you do, there's no going back. I can't, and you won't. Now, I know this series of headphones gets a lot of hate for the bass, but honestly, I think it's blown out of proportion. With everything else this headphone does, the bass being okay, bad for the price, above average in terms of headphones that I've heard, it's completely forgivable. The treble on it is unholy detailed, and so is the mid-range, but the mid-range timbre is just bad. It really shines through in music. Like, it's horrible for music. But in video games, I want to almost say it's a benefit, because that mid-range wonk almost makes video games sound more cinematic. I think they tried to make a minimum soundstage, or make the soundstage bigger in these versus how it was in the original HD800, 800S. That's just a guess. I haven't heard those headphones. I don't know if they stage any wider, but these don't want to stage close. And so it will make music sound bad, but almost all video games will just sound so huge and expansive. And it makes everything sound physically big. It doesn't sound like you're listening to a headphone driver. Like, I was listening to Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight? And, like, when the electric guitar picks up, it sounds like a really huge guitar amp, like 8 miles down the road. It's honestly that big. And in video games, it gets even bigger. And you can tell how far away something is. You can tell exactly what direction it's in. It lets you pinpoint in on almost anything. It's unholy good. And even outside of competitive games and more cinematic games, the soundstage helps a lot. The bass supports it fine. It's not as bad as what everybody says. And honestly, that wonk in the mid-range helps more than it hurts, I would say. It's astounding. And it's awful. If you're looking to buy this for music, skip it. Honestly, for music, I'd rather listen to my HD8XX. The soundstage ain't as big, but the tonality is a lot better. But when it comes to video games, I don't want to put anything else on. The way it sounds, and even after 8-10 hours of gaming, they don't hurt your head. Honestly, forget that you're wearing them. No other headphone can do what this does. Or at least no other headphone I've tried. I want to get... I have a hybrid tube amp. And it did soften it up a little bit, but honestly, it's not that great of a tube amp. I would like to get a complete tube amp to try these on a tube, because I've heard good things about these on, like, true tube amps. Maybe I might do a revisit in the future for music on a tube amp. All the listening, well, 99% of the listening I've done on this has been on solid state. Tube amps just affect so many headphones so differently from each other. And so many tube amps react so much differently from each other. It's really hard to get a nail on a sound of a headphone over a tube amp. Solid state amps aren't always consistent, but they're more consistent. Well, if you like this video, please like it, please subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. What's your favorite gaming headset? If it's something that I can afford or have some kind of interest in, I'll see if I can review it. I got limited money, but, you know, I'll do what I can do. Next week is going to be my favorite music headphone. This is my favorite gaming headphone, so I'm going to do my favorites back to back. And my favorite music headphone is also a Mass Drop collab. Well, I guess drop now. So stay tuned for that. I hope y'all enjoy that review too. Thanks for watching.